This is what we get for evolving? Sorry?
Welcome to ScreenCrush, I'm Ryan Airy. First off, glory to Glorzo. Now, let's talk about episode 7 of Rick and Morty season 4. As always, there are lots of Easter eggs and references that I'm going to point out, but more importantly, we're going to look at the meaning of this episode and why it's told in a non-linear way. I'm going to talk about this episode in linear order because I think it makes it easier to understand its overall theme. The title is Proto-Mortius, a play on the prequel to the movie Alien, Prometheus. This episode copies those movies' basic premise. People get too close to wet eggs, a facehugger with acid blood lays eggs in them, and they die giving birth to a new creature. The cave and eggs are designed to closely mimic these movies, but that's about where the similarities end.
I always wondered, does the facehugger have dreams of its own?
Glorzo was also inspired by the DC character Starro the Conqueror, a giant starfish whose offspring attach to a host's face and mind controls them. Now, this is great if you just want to create an army of disposable villains, but as always, Rick and Morty has a deeper story to tell. The question at the center of this episode is, what is the value of life? Are we just biological organisms who live, poop, and breed? Or can we be something more and build a civilization that will survive our life cycles? With that in mind, let's break down this episode and its message about the value of life. Summer is listening to a podcast parody of Season 1 of Serial, the series where Sarah Koenig slowly uncovered the story of murder suspect Adnan Syed. Koenig slowly becomes incorporated into the narrative herself, leaving some people to wonder if she had feelings for Adnan. Similarly, in Summer's podcast, the narrator feels an animal attraction to a being that devours suns.
Was Garcool really capable of consuming a living sun? Or was I simply getting too close to Garcool? Was Garcool consuming me?
Now this is at first a parody of Galactus, Devourer of Worlds, but more importantly, this shows a female narrator being drawn toward an entity that she should not interfere with, just like Summer and Glorzo. There are other parallels that I'll get to in a minute. To give her character a spark of individuality, Summer has decided to be a toothpick person, like Mickey Rourke in Iron Man 2. But this toothpick actually does give her individuality, and she's able to resist assimilation. There are a few funny gags about time and the perception of time.
I've been alive 7 minutes. Think before you...
Excuse me, 7 minutes? I've been here for 29 minutes.
This is because humans revere the wisdom of our greatest generation.
He was part of our greatest generation. He understood that what you need to do is suck on a face, shit an egg, and die.
When we've all actually only been around for a small fraction of the universe's lifespan. So if there were space baby aliens who lived for millions of years, to them we would be like the Glorzo, living, pooping, and breeding at an alarmingly fast rate. But then Summer, who is able to retain her individuality thanks to the toothpick, introduces them to the idea of civilization. This is like the god Prometheus giving primitive man the gift of fire, another inspiration for the episode's title. Except here, Summer leads a movement to extend the life cycle of the Glorzos so they can build a more technological society. There's lots of fun little details in this montage. In this classroom, notice they get gold stars for not laying eggs. The party banner on the wall looks like Glorzo's, and there are pencils wedged in the ceiling. A Glorzo government is formed with a logo designed after the United Nations. The Glorzo feed off Rick's intelligence and use the technology of his ship as the foundation of their society, which, by the way, all happens in just one day.
Just would have been nice to have heard this sooner, before we spent all day on it.
But Summer favors Morty and Rick feels left out, so he becomes a kind of angry conservative YouTuber.
I don't like them putting chemicals in the water that turn the friggin' frogs gay!
Except Rick is promoting a return to a more traditional lifestyle of living, pooping, and breeding.
Our hosts are biologically designed to incubate our eggs. If that triggers you, off.
And by the way, his like-dislike ratio is pretty good, so the algorithm should favor his videos. And then we get the humanizing moment where the two Glorzos fall in love.
I feel the same way.
This is an expression of individuality that would have been impossible for their society prior to technological advancements. Similarly, in most tribal societies, the wants and needs of the individual are secondary to the needs of the tribe. But then technology advances, we build M&M stores, and as fewer people are concerned with survival, we begin to think more as individuals. This move toward individuality is also hinted at here.
Yeah, well, if we're free to ask questions, why haven't you blinked?
And also here.
Let's just get the hell out of here and be whatever the we want. That's evolution. That's progress.
After seeing these two fall in love and vow to defy the conventions of their society, rewatching their death scene is just tragic. I mean, just look at how they struggle to stay alive, and the little worried look on this guy's face. And that brings me to why this episode is told out of order. The writers wanted to show Rick and Morty destroying unhuman, disposable villains, and then make us relate to them. Dan Harmon has explored this theme before in his sitcom Community.
I can pick up this pencil, tell you its name is Steve, and go like this. Oh. and part of you dies.
The writers wanted us to enjoy the spectacle of destruction and then feel bad about it. Now, Rick and Morty, like us, jump to conclusions about this society, not caring about the hard work that went into building this civilization.
Seems like a self-destructive life cycle.
He thinks their life cycles are short when actually they've evolved from pooping babies out on the ground to actual birthing rooms with their friends and family present. And by the way, among these many alien races are the pig nostril heads like the stoner within the Mind of Tickets Please man that we saw in the last episode. If you thought that episode was confusing, I did a whole breakdown of it that explains everything, so be sure to check that out. Anyways, Rick and Morty escape and get to have cathartic fun breaking stuff.
Damn, feels kind of good when there's no guilt, huh?
Yeah, it's like in Star Wars.
Yeah, just like in Star Wars.
And it is like Star Wars, where legions of stormtroopers are blown up and we never even ask if they're slaves or clones or brainwashed. They don't have faces, so it's fun, blow them up. Morty even enters a gunner's seat like in the Millennium Falcon and is encouraged to copy Han's Yeehaw. But all of this, again, goes back to the episode's main theme. What is the value of life? Remember the hypothetical million-year-old race of alien space babies that I mentioned earlier? They would destroy Earth cities like a child stomping on an anthill, never aware of the pain and suffering they were causing. And the humans in this episode are always being pulled between their base impulses of pooping and breeding and higher cognitive functions like empathy for other species. For instance, Morty indulges his base impulses by using Pornhub, but he also uses it to form connections with other people.
Plus, if you get in kind of a cool enough relationship, you can sort of follow each other and check out each other's kinks, you know?
Later, Rick is thrilled to be able to stop thinking and just indulge his own base impulses.
God, I needed this. Honestly, it's been a while since I've been able to just let loose, you know?
Rick and Morty are able to destroy the city because they have no empathy for these people. After all, they're just brainless, mind-controlling facehuggers. But then... they avoid recreating 9/11 because it's an event that happened within their memory.
Is that your memory of her out there? Between where you were on 9/11 and your favorite sports blooper?
It's personal. They empathize with the disaster. But Pearl Harbor? Screw it. That's just part of history. Earlier, the Glorzo talked about honoring their greatest generation, but now Rick and Morty are taking a cathartic crap all over the greatest disaster of the greatest generation. Back at the house, we see that Jerry is maintaining his own hive civilization to create his own brand of honey, Jerry's Own. After returning to Glorzo, Rick name drops events from a couple past episodes.
Do you think we never go back to a place we've already been? Do you know how many adventures we could get out of Purge Planet, Morty? Gear World?
These happened in Morty Night Run and Look Who's Purging Now. The episode Look Who's Purging Now also criticizes starting a story in the middle, a rule that this episode breaks.
I feel like, we should start our stories where they begin, not start them where they get interested.
The two of them are wearing Gundam and Voltron suits and engage in some good old video game hack and slash violence, again, dehumanizing the Glorzo. And they're suited up as a parody of many popular anime. Rick interrupts Summer's pedicure by saying,
Some, come with us if you want to live.
Which is a parody of
Come with me if you want to live.
In prison, Morty sings this song.
Nobody knows the trouble I've seen.
Which sure felt like a Spaceballs reference.
Nobody knows but Jesus.
But Spaceballs was probably referencing a million other movies that I've never seen.
Nobody knows the trouble I've seen.
Little detail, the buckle on Summer's belt is made to look like the Eye of Glorzo. After they escape and destroy this new civilization, this new guy arrives and says,
Okay, well, I'm not cleaning up this.
Faced with the option of rebuilding civilization or simply living, pooping, and breeding, he goes with the simpler option. Now, if this character looks familiar, it's because you've seen him before. This is your mom.
He said it! He said it!
So, this episode is about measuring the value of life. Part of that is asking, when does some life become more valuable than other life? If life forms obey their base impulses, are they less worthy of survival than the life that evolves to achieve great things, like building an M&M store? At the end of the episode, Rick and Morty happily return to the couch to indulge in their base impulses with some interdimensional cable, which is loose, improvised fun.
And they're gonna, it's called Two Brothers. Two Brothers. It's just called Two Brothers.
But the show they watch is an endless loop without memory.
Do you suffer from Alzheimer's? Do you suffer from Alzheimer's? Do you suffer from Alzheimer's?
Life that can't remember its own existence is like the pre-summer Glorzos. They hatch, poop, breed, and that's it. And then, just as they start to indulge their base impulses, Rick and Morty poop on the floor like animals.
Bad dog! Bad!
Morty!
Rick says,
It's full circle from the pilot.
A reference to the mega seeds Morty put in his butt in the first episode.
And I'm gonna need you to put them way up inside your butthole, Morty.
In my butt?
In the post-credits tag, Summer's friend is dressed like a character from a porno and talks about indulging her base impulses in a scenario straight out of an adult film.
Summer, I want to
Oh, really?
She's turned on by Jerry, who's simply doing something that he loves and not overthinking his existence. This is also a parallel to Summer's podcast about a reporter who found herself drawn toward a forbidden entity that devours suns. And by the way, did you notice the graves of this reality's Rick and Morty in the last shot? This reminds us that whether you overthink your life or underthink it, nothing really matters and no one exists on purpose. So you might as well go ahead and f*** your friend's dad. Well guys, that's all the references we found. If you found any, let me know in the comments below. And if it's your first time here, please subscribe. For ScreenCrush, I'm Ryan Airy.